The president and founder of the Australian Jewish Association, Dr Adler, is a good friend of this show. He was our guest on an interview episode last month. He set up the conservative-leaning AIJA to balance out the left-wing dominance of other Jewish organisations in Australia. In our interview, David, who's a doctor of medicine and a businessman who's highly intelligent and well-read, spoke openly and honestly about everything. And he didn't balk at any of the questions that I asked him. We covered the Israel-Palestine conflict. We talked about anti-Semitism on the left and right of politics, and the reason why he's asking Jewish people to vote against The Voice, because he sees it as a constitutional change based on race. The campaign on The Voice is now getting uglier. Truckloads of money are pouring into the Yes campaign, and the PR and ad campaigns have really started to ramp up. The more radical elements of the media inside newspapers like The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald will start writing hit pieces. Hit pieces are not good journalism. They're propaganda pieces designed to deliberately take down someone's reputation so as to diminish them and their points of view expressed to the public. Paul Sakal is a federal politics reporter for 9 newspapers, The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. He used old tweets from Dr Adler asking about the Aboriginality of Stan Grant and Lydia Thorpe to write a hit piece suggesting that David was racist for asking those questions and for sharing a meme about Stan Grant using tanning salons and makeup to darken his skin. David's tweets were mockery. Mockery must be allowed in a free liberal society. David wasn't mocking Aboriginality, Aboriginal culture, or Aborigines. He was mocking the elites, the elite identity politics peddlers' obsession with skin colour and race. That is not racism. They want us to believe it is racism to enhance their victim power status, but it isn't. In one tweet, David even asked ironically, "Is Stan Grant guilty of doing blackface?" making fun of one of the tedious woke tropes that the identity politics elites use to attack people. Stan Grant is even quite widely known as Tan Grant on social media. David's tweets added no offence to an already known teasing of a TV personality who does very well out of discussing his racial background. Sky News' Chris Kenny slammed David's tweets as racist, but he was very, very wrong to do so. Here's why. We're living in a world where skin colour and race, immutable characteristics that people are born with, are being used to gain special privileges, where victimhood is a badge of honour that gets you privilege. Not being used by poorer Aboriginal Australians who really do need social support, but by rich, elite, mixed race, part Indigenous people who are seeking social clout. They're using their membership of the Indigenous race as a career enhancement tool in the realms of media, politics, and public influencer environments. This is upside-down world nonsense, and it must stop. The elites will scream and jump up and down and use all their power and clout in the massive control they have over media, academia, corporations, government, politics, and education to ridicule and condemn anyone who dares to break their rules. But they need to understand now that the world has changed. Ordinary people have woken up to the game. We're not woke, we're awake. We're awake to the big lie and the big manipulation, and we're simply not taking it lying down anymore. Our rejection of The Voice is just the beginning, not the end, of what I'm going to call the great pushback. We will not be bullied into silence by thought police thuggery hiding behind a fake veneer of cries of racism, sexism, or discrimination. We're done with the lot of you. So the elites will need to get used to this new world order. They've had it all their way in Australia for 20 years or more. You don't get to ask us to vote on a referendum that will give special access and privilege to a small group of Australians based on their racial heritage, and then get mad and call us racists when we ask individuals to prove that they passed the test of Aboriginality. You can't have it both ways. That's gaslighting. Asking someone as white as Bruce Pascoe or Marcus Stewart to prove their Aboriginality is not unreasonable in a world where you're going to be getting the right to sit on a special body that will have a lot more power than ordinary citizens will, that they can never sit on because of that claimed Aboriginality. You're going to get access to a lot more public funding. Otherwise, anybody could claim to be Aboriginal and just get upset if anyone challenges them. Imagine the number of half Lebanese guys named Coory who could get away with it. Marcus Stewart even had the audacity to have a go at Senator Jacinta Price this week, accusing her of hating her own people in an ABC interview.
And we have a far-right politician in Senator Napanjippa Price out there spreading lies, spreading mis and disinformation. I don't think I've come across anyone that hates Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander or seems to hate Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people so much. What have we done wrong in this debate to simply ask for a better chance at life for our most vulnerable? That's what we're seeking here.
There is just so much wrong with that 28 seconds. I do not know where to start. It is classic lefty manipulation. So let's analyse it and dissect it, okay? He starts by calling her far right. So you immediately label and villainise your opponent. She's not far right. She's far from it. She's centre right, if anything. And there's absolutely nothing wrong, by the way, with being right-wing, mate. I'm sorry. It's okay to be conservative and pro-capital markets. It works where so-called progressivism and big government control has continuously failed. Anyway, that's the first slur, right? Far right. Then he goes on to accuse her of spreading disinformation and misinformation. Oh boy. Again proving why we must not let these new laws of elbows on information control and censorship get passed. People on the left side of politics are going to call everything they disagree with dis and misinformation just to get it banned and censored. This is their obvious intent. Then he accuses her of seeming to hate her own people. That's disgusting. And then the grand finale.
What have we done wrong in this debate to simply ask for a better chance at life for our most vulnerable? That's what we're seeking here. That's all we're seeking. The classic lefty emotional manipulation. All we want is to help the little children. What have we done wrong? No, mate, you're asking for a lot more than just a better life for your most vulnerable. We could achieve that in 5 minutes if we got the lefty bureaucrats out of the way. You're asking to change the Australian Constitution. That is no small ask. All I asked for was a special organisation called A Voice to Parliament that will give 3% of the population much more clout and access and voice over all of our national affairs than anyone who isn't the descendant of Aboriginal people like me. And then all we want is a treaty that gives us control over lots of land. And all we're asking is that the other 25 million Aussies hand over their rights to us for the country that they and their ancestors built, that we all benefit from as much as anyone else. I mean, Aboriginal Aussies only get 1.5 to 2 times the amount of federal spending on them than every other Australian. It's not enough. All we're asking for is a change to the Constitution that will permanently entrench our rights based on our racial origin to have a greater say than you do in all public affairs. Is that too much to ask? Well, yeah, mate. A lot of us think it is. You're taking the piss and making a mockery of our goodwill. So, no.